See some old faces. Hello. Challenge. So, how's the day been, Lourdes? It was a great session last one. I was there for the past this last 35, 40 minutes, but it was really wonderful. I really must say I won't use the word enjoy, but it was nice to have a very frank session. Yeah, it was good.
Thank you, Umar. Thank you. It's a difficult topic to acknowledge, not from
It
a
is. It is.
extreme side, and I think Mohammed approach it's really fits well for World Future Day.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. It is. That is true. That is true. Let's just give a few more minutes for our friends to join in and then we'll start.
Yes, Iman, you have the you will introduce the. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, as usual, over here in my part of the world, it's the net might be at sometimes a little shaky. Uh, I'm sorry, this is not by my design. I've tried to put in the best.
It's happening now. You said it. It's happening. But I see, Iman. Maybe you can start introducing World Futures Day, right? While Umar come back. Can you unmute yourself? Okay, if not, let me help you.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Yes, sorry. I'm also having some technical interruptions, like it's a lot of stopped working in my region for some reason. All right. So, hello everyone, and welcome to World Futures Day. World Futures Day is a platform to provide a platform for young people of all generations to share their inspirations, their concerns, and basically their visions for the future. And it's a space to connect intergenerational dialogue where all participants have the opportunity to voice their perspectives and feel heard by one another. So yeah, that's basically an overview on World Futures Day. I'm your facilitator and my co-facilitator, Omar Sheraz. So hello and welcome, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Look forward to it. Look forward to it. Okay. So, how about we start off with a
It's really, Umar, your internet is not getting to the call.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think what he means to say, oh, let's start off with introductions. So if anyone would like to go first, and maybe you can assign the next person to speak.
Maybe, yeah, Hassaan.
when you go to this link, you will.
Oh,
So I guess while Umar is getting his internet sorted, I'll introduce myself. My name is Hassaan Sipra. I am from Pakistan, but currently live in the US and work on climate change related research, as well as a controversial topic, solar geoengineering, which I believe we're going to talk a little bit about today. I'm looking forward to this event, and this is the first time I became aware of it through Omar, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'd like to give it to Anam Idris to introduce themselves.
Anam, can you maybe open your mic and introduce yourself?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Anna Matriz. Are you listening me?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I was actually facing the problem of disconnectivity of internet. Can you please come again that what I have to introduce, how I'm going to introduce myself actually in front of you guys?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Okay.
just a general introduction about yourself.
Okay, I'm Anna Matriz and I'm working with Unity International School since 5 years. And in fact, I'm middle school coordinator there.
Thank you, Anam. Can you assign another person to go next?
To whom I have to assign? My students? Excuse me, Sir Umar, are you listening us?
You can assign to anyone, like.
Okay, to Khatija.
I don't think there's a Khadija in the meeting room with us.
Yes, Khadija Sisse.
Nida Fatima.
I see Scott here. Maybe you introduce yourself, Scott.
Hi, I'm Scott Jordan. I'm from the US, but working in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, so big fan. So look forward to what everyone's here to talk about. I guess I need to hand it off, unless any of the others who have been called so far. Well, since I know Isabel is not well and sick, if you just want to quickly introduce yourself, feel free.
Khadija.
Sorry. Hi. I was just away as well, but I'm here. I'm listening. Isabel in London. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Hello, I am here.
Hi, Khadija. Can you please introduce yourself?
Good morning. I am Hadija Sise. I am from Senegal. I'm in High School of Managing Project.
Thank you so much, Khadija. If anyone would like to go next, maybe you can raise your hand or just unmute yourself and you can go next.
Assalamu alaikum. So I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Amarta Sindhu, a seventh grader from Pakistan, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation. Really excited to be here.
Thank you, Amarta.
You're
So,
welcome.
does anyone want to go next? And if Omar is here, then we can have.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Umar, and I'm also from Pakistan and School Unity International. And nice to be here in this.
Thank you. So is Omar here yet? Or can anyone else maybe introduce themselves if you'd like to?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Hello.
Yes.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Amal, and I am also from Unity International School, Pakistan.
Hello.
Thank you,
Hi,
Emaan.
Nida. I can hear you, yes.
Yes, Nida. That's me.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nida. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so actually I'm from India, but during that time zone, I had some technical errors, so I got into Pakistan, but looking forward to the conversation and I'm enjoying it.
Thank you so much, Nida.
So I know Umar is having problems with the internet. I'm speaking with him in WhatsApp. Emaan, would you like to facilitate, or I don't know if you can, you know who is talking today. I don't know if Hassaan was planning to share some pieces here.
Yeah, so originally Omar had the slides and basically the whole meeting agenda. But Hassan, since you're speaking, maybe you can do your speech or the presentation you had.
This is part of your thinking. We need to adapt to events that were not in the horizon.
This is perfectly okay. I'm happy to adapt to it. I do have a set of slides that are just some short slides just to get the topic introduced. Would I be able to share my screen? It's saying that I have the permission. I don't have the permission for it.
Okay, let me ask for it. I'm asking Lisa. Can you ask, like when you want to share, you click solicited?
Yeah, it just says sharing is not turned on. The host isn't allowing multiple presenters sharing for this meeting. And I only have the option to click OK.
Okay. I ask other thing that we can do in the meantime, maybe, I don't know if you can share in the chat the slides. I think you have the options to share a file.
Sure.
And I can try to share screen.
Yeah, let me go ahead and share that.
And in the meantime, as I see Umar in the main room, so he's coming somehow to the breakout rooms.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and...
For the ones that just joined, we are about to start. We will share screen shortly.
Okay, so I went ahead and it is uploading now to you guys. Right.
Okay.
And everybody should have it now. Okay, so if you'll go ahead and open the file, we'll do it this way.
Maybe you can open, like I can share the presentation and like you can tell me when to click.
Oh, yeah, that would be fine as well.
Great.
So you got it, right, Emaan?
Yes, I have it.
Perfect. If you need help, let me know.
So, oh, perfect. Yeah, there we go. So there will be a lot of clicking that'll be happening because there are certain slides that kind of go sequentially, but we'll just go through it. So we're here today to talk about solar radiation modification and solar geoengineering. As we go through the presentation, I'll talk a little bit more about what that is and why it's crucial for young people around the world to engage in this topic. It's an intergenerational justice issue. And within the context of these technologies and what they mean for the world, it's important to always have that justice angle. That's why we have an organization, an NGO that was established in 2023 that focuses very specifically on the justice challenges. So we can go to the next slide. And it's really clear why this is a problem. Because of climate change, we need to find solutions for it, and we need to have more action towards it. Whether or not that these technologies are a solution or an alternative or any of those words is not really up for debate in such a way. They are not a true solution to climate change. The biggest problem we have is that global greenhouse gas emissions, which are the main cause of climate change, are not slowing down. Next slide, please. And as you can see, that slowdown The lack of a slowdown is very well illustrated in this graph. Next slide, please. Our second challenge is because these greenhouse gas emissions, they attract heat, the temperature of the planet is rising. And we are currently about to reach dangerous levels of warming. Next slide, please. This is a graph that illustrates that. Really, I mean, I would normally walk you through the graph as well, but since I don't have mouse controls, it's difficult. Just look at the slide on the panel on the rightmost side, and you'll see this gradient that's showing different levels of warming potential that we have, and each of them is subsequently higher and higher in terms of temperatures. If you'll go to the next slide, please. And as a result of those, next slide, please. And as a result of those rising temperatures, we're facing disproportionate and uneven risks to the planet. Next slide, please. Many of those risks are to things like our unique and threatened ecosystems. They'll cause more extreme weather events. They'll distribute those impacts unevenly. And there'll be larger scale, more intense, and more frequent climate impacts that we'll face. So the higher the temperature goes, the higher the level of risk. Next slide, please. We have a target of 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is a political target, but that's where the world has decided, look, we shouldn't go above 1.5 degrees of warming. With our current actions and policies, which is this blue, the darker blue column on the leftmost side, even with our best efforts today, we're only going to be hitting at minimum 2.2 degrees Celsius of warming and at most 3.4 degrees of warming. These are very dangerous levels in terms of the impacts on the global community, especially for developing countries like Pakistan. Next slide, please. And so what are we supposed to do? Well, there's the standard practice, which says that we have to cut our greenhouse gas emissions and really aggressively and quickly do that. But we're not doing that. So then there's a second option that also comes in, which is to say that we also need to remove the amount of greenhouse gas emissions we've been putting out there. And that's going to take time as well. That's going to take a lot of money and resources as well, money and resources that we currently do not have available to us, nor do we have the technology developed at this stage. So some people have proposed that in the interim, perhaps it's an option to consider that we do this thing called solar geoengineering. Next slide, please. Now, under no circumstances does DSG advocate for solar geoengineering as a technology option. We say that it is something that we should be considering. We should be researching and exploring just so that we're aware of what its potential impacts might be. And in that point, the main governmental body that looks at climate change, the scientific body, IPCC, says that SRM cannot be the main policy response to climate change. That must always remain mitigation. This is a crucial point about how these technologies are impactful. Next slide, please. And so finally, I'll tell you what solar geoengineering actually is. It's the idea is to reflect sunlight away from the planet in order to bring that global average temperature down. It does not address the root cause of climate change, which again are those greenhouse gas emissions that we keep producing. And it does not solve all of climate change problems. It addresses only the temperature reduction. It does that at a global level. It does not distribute it evenly across the planet. So some places might still get warmer, some places might get cooler, some places might have a variety of different impacts. It also does not address things like precipitation, agriculture, public health, the cryosphere, and a variety of other things. In many places, we also have a limited amount of understanding as to what it does because it's underexplored. The two main technologies that I want you to focus on are the one with the airplane over here. That's called stratospheric aerosol injection. We basically put particles in the stratosphere, the upper layer of the atmosphere, to reflect sunlight away. And then the other option is to put sea salt aerosols into low-lying clouds and make them a little bit brighter. That way they'll reflect sunlight away as well. So that's the core of the two biggest technologies that we have under consideration. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So yes, some clicking will happen here. The problem is that these technologies are very global north-centric. So developed countries have the capacity and ability to develop them. They can be developed fairly cheaply. There's some rocket science involved in it, but it's not an unfeasible amount of activity. So that makes it dangerous because a lot of the climate change impacts are actually occurring in developing countries. And so how do they get involved in those decision makings around those research? Big question. Next slide, or next, yeah. There's also limited governance. There's no global framework for how to address these challenges. There's none in the research space. There are some pockets of it that are popping up, but no overarching framework, which can have devastating and dangerous consequences because these technologies are fairly cheap to develop, on the orders of billions of dollars per year, rather than the trillion plus that's needed just for mitigation every year. Next. There's also no civil society engagement in this field, or minimal civil society engagement thus far. And you cannot have good systems, good governance systems in something so controversial without the involvement of lay people, without the involvement of democratic principles, rights of nature, rights of people. So it's important to have civil society be involved. And finally, it's a highly controversial topic. Is this man finally reaching into God's domain, into nature's domain, to a level that's just too far? Are we ethically prepared for such a challenge? Are we really going to deeply embed ourselves into intervening with the global climate, everyone's climate? There are huge ethical challenges with this. How do we address those? I think I'd like to stop there so that we can continue this conversation. I think I've raised some good questions, and I hope to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. And then I had one final slide about why youth was important, but yeah, I feel like it's been well clarified in my talk thus far. Thanks so much, guys.
Okay.
It's okay. I think we covered it. I'd like to hear everybody else talk. Thanks.
Yes. So if anyone has any questions.
I have one question, Hassan. I mean, you are part of so many global dialogues on this particular phenomena. I've been looking at your work, and that was during your work and the work of your organization that I actually got to be introduced to the concept of geoengineering and specifically solar radiation management. Do you think in today's environment, especially today's politically charged environment and various factors are coming together, do you think this seems a more plausible scenario now? We are getting nearer and nearer to such a scenario? It's very, I'm a futurist, so that's the sort of questions I really am interested in. Yeah.
That's a great question, and one that was the impetus for me getting involved in this field in the first place. When I first started looking into it deeply in late 2018, early 2019, it was more from the modeling and the climate, like making a map and having data tables that way. But the more I started doing that, the more I realized that there are no levers in place to manage these systems. And while there are lots of things in the world that you can do slowly and build the systems around it as you go, with technologies like solar geoengineering, because they're fast, they're cheap, they're highly scalable, and they can be unilaterally deployed, which means, for example, if any country with a large enough air force, the US, China, Pakistan, India, you could name several of them, right? If any one of them really dedicated themselves to it, I mean, they could have a program in about 10 years. How do you stop that? How do you get the world to agree on those things? The political climate today is not even sufficient to manage climate change. So then how are you going to manage these technologies? That's the biggest fear I think that a lot of people have about it. That the way various, like under a Trump administration, the US has now pulled out of climate change, out of several other UN organizations like WHO, and is actively breaking down the way we think about climate change. So it does become a bigger question. What kind of a system would be able to move this forward? And that makes it an generational question, because I don't think the people of today or right now are the ones who are going to make a decision about potentially deploying these technologies. That's 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line, when climate crises are getting really, really bad. Do people have that weird devil's choice to make? Lesser of two evils choice to make. So I don't think that the current political climate, in short, is equipped to deal with technologies like this.
Thank you very much for that. That's it is. I mean, I was seeing those pictures coming out of the White House yesterday. That was really shocking. I don't know what happens next. Yeah. So climate change again. Drill, baby, drill.
Yeah.
So might be.
I would be curious to know if anybody in this room had heard of solar geoengineering, other than Omar, who I know had heard of it before today.
I have.
Oh, wonderful.
These are my students. These are my students from Unity, and this year we were working on them on let's explore different SDGs using SRM. So they're my students, yeah. So they've come along and they'll be sharing some of that stuff shortly. Yep.
Excellent.
Okay.
I heard of it, but I heard from a different perspective, like what will be the unintended consequences? We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, also another question I'd like to ask you, Hassaan. I think it's like a question in all of our minds, but like since you suggested like putting aerosols into the environment, or like basically cloud seeding, So this has happened a lot, for example, in UAE. I'm currently based in Abu Dhabi. So, and the last time the UAE government did that, since they do that a lot for rain in the UAE, so they basically caused a flood over there, and it also raises a lot of like climate challenges, especially in countries like Pakistan, where like monsoon is already like a really bad problem. It causes floods. So if the floods are coming in Dubai, like if you do that in Pakistan, they're just gonna get it worse. So like, how does like cloud seeding or SRM like affect the environment in general?
A really good question. I'd like to clarify something first. Cloud seeding and SRM, let's just take marine cloud brightening, which is similar in some ways, but there are some distinctions. Cloud seeding is highly localized, and it targets specific weather patterns. So, for example, if there is a small bit of cloud forming already and you're like, oh, I want to make that specific cloud set bigger, okay, one time, I'll do a targeted intervention, and I'll get that cloud to grow a little bigger, maybe grow a little quicker, and cause rain to come down. With solar geoengineering, it's broader, so it's much bigger. So as in it's over this regional scales. It's for a long-term period, and it's to change the long-term weather systems, so the climate system. So there's a big distinction there, which is that this would be a strategy to do long-term things at a minimal regional scale. So, but when I say region, I mean like a third of the Atlantic Ocean instead of just like above Abu Dhabi or Dubai, which inherently makes it much more riskier and much more long-term and much more impactful. So if cloud seeding causes flooding to happen, which I'm not sure I'm in agreement with that sort of social media narrative that came about it, or that media narrative. But if you do that for a long term, what are the goals? Who are the temperature benefits or the climate impact benefits going to be for? And on the flip side, if and what those risks are, how are you going to balance and manage those risks so that the people who will end up suffering the consequences of this activity how will they be helped? So for example, even if you say that, okay, the cloud seeding from UAE caused floods in Pakistan, well, is the UAE then obliged to help Pakistan manage those floods? Is it obliged to pay into a system that supports Pakistan's rehabilitation after this? Does it have to support paying for building resiliency in areas where those risks might occur? So when you take cloud seeding and then you scale it up all the way to marine cloud brightening, all of those issues become scaled up as well. And their solutions would then need to be scaled up as well. So again, huge questions. And when it's about money, everybody gets a little more tight-lipped about how they're going to manage things. So really
Thank
excellent
you
question.
very much, Hassan. I really appreciate, it's really great. You've given us a great overview of, solar radiation management. It's very appropriate that the session was on climate change. It is one of the existential, questions for the whole of humanity. What you're talking about represents a radical innovation, a radical, I wouldn't use the word solution, but a way out. But again, we should not keep sight that, we need to still behave. We need to, bring changes in our lifestyle. So it's very appropriate. I would like to move on to the next one. Thanks, Hassan. And we'll look around for, stay around because we'll be still asking you questions and we'll be sharing stuff which my students have worked on, in SRM. We're very fortunate that between us, we have a great activist, a child activist, Emaan Danish. And the thing is, she's what actually inspired me. And when I got this chance to work with her, that I had to look at her profile, the way she had been to different COP meetings, and the way she had actually worked as an activist. So, how does it actually feel to actually be in that COP, battlefield? How does it feel? What all did you do? So perhaps, Iman, you could share some of those things. What actually happens in those meetings? What was your work as an activist? Maybe you could give us a brief, thing about that. Over to you, Iman.
Yeah, sure. I actually have a presentation. So if I could share that, if that's okay.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, about
Right.
6-7
All
minutes.
right,
You can.
great. So, first of all, hello everyone. My name is Emaan Danish Khan, and I'm the founder of Earth Wars Pakistan, which is a free-to-use climate education portal designed for children under 16 years of age that basically teaches children about climate change in their own regional languages. So, everyone here knows about climate change, right? Climate change is a huge issue. It's impacting us in a million different ways. Like there's poverty, there's rising sea levels, there's health risks, there's increased droughts, etc. So, and we've also seen climate change's impacts everywhere we go. For example, I'm from Pakistan, and my roots are from the northern areas in Sawat. So I've witnessed all of the floods happening and the floods, people being washed away, and even now living in Abu Dhabi, I've been to Dubai and seeing the flooding. It's really scary. But and then but then we live in Dubai, right? There's a lot of work on sustainability being done, and every other person knows what climate change is, right? But when you think about the indigenous communities, for example, in my home village in Pakistan, they have no idea what climate change is. And that is a major setback like that's happening. If we don't know about such a serious topic like climate change, we can't do anything about it. So, how do we mitigate these impacts? Well, of course, education. So, this is why I created Earth Warriors. It's a free to use climate education portal that teaches children about climate change in their own regional languages. So think of it as a bit like, for example, my mother used to share me stories about back in her day, there used to be a cartoon called Captain Planet. So he basically taught children about climate change and like basically the environment and stuff like that. But then it got discontinued. But then I was thinking a little bit about it. There are so many superheroes of like many different places, right? Like, for example, not necessarily a superhero, but you got Dora that teaches children like Spanish and also about wildlife. But the children in Pakistan, they didn't really have someone they could relate to on a cultural level, and someone who doesn't really speak about like the challenges happening in Pakistan. So that's why we have our mascot Fiza, that basically teaches children about climate change and also in their own regional languages. Because we've realized that not everyone speaks English. There's a lot of climate education available. Yes, there are a lot of climate seminars, talks, and even in like the COPs I've been to, they're all in English, of course. But not everyone speaks English. For example, the indigenous communities, they're the ones that are most impacted by climate change, yet they're the least talked about. And like, the floods that happened in 2022 in Pakistan, the impacts of the floods are still being faced today. But the indigenous communities, they don't know what's hitting them because they have no education available for them. So that's why we created Earth Warriors in their own regional languages. So basically, this is the portal, and yeah, that's a little bit about me. So speaking about COP, what I like to say, the biggest challenge we face at COP is the lack of inclusivity. I've been to three COPs already. I've been to COP28 in Dubai, I've been to Baku, Azerbaijan, and I've also been to COP16 that happened recently in Riyadh in December. So the thing is, there's a lot of talk about inclusivity, but that inclusivity is like really limited. It's about youth. But the thing is, in spaces like COP, we're always talking about youth. Even in COP28, there was a whole pavilion, the Women and Youth Pavilion. But the thing is, all of the youth talks are happening specifically in that pavilion. But if you go on like the bigger tables, like the actual negotiations that are happening, people just turn away when the topic of youth comes. So I think what we need to mitigate in like the next COPs happening is inclusivity and listening to everyone and not just blindly talking that youth are the future because youth are the present as well. Youth face all of these challenges and then they're just not talked about enough. So yeah, that's basically a bit about my experiences at COP.
Thank you so much, Iman. That means such a lot, having a child activist there. And I mean, it's all of our futures, and you'll be living in it. All of us will be living it. So, yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. We've got about 20 minutes. So, what I would like to do is that one of the things which I've been doing for the past 3 years is that I've been working with Unity International School. It's a wonderful place where I've been working on futures with the students over there for the past 3 years. So the past 2 years, we worked on the basics, futures trials, futures triangle, all that stuff and all. And this year, I actually asked them that if we could, tell me about here is solar radiation management. Let's see if we can, explore life, if we are in this situation. Of course, I'm a futurist, all right? So could you just let me share my screen, lower this for a minute, please? And then I'll move it on to the girls because I would like them to present. So, okay.
Okay. Can you try now?
All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, I hope everybody can see this. So yeah, so the basic idea, how do we, protect Earth from the sun's rays? Perhaps you to live in such a situation, why not ask it for the people who will be actually living in that scenario? Why not bring in children? So this was my idea, and let's do this. And this is me working with different kids over there, and they came up with some really beautiful stuff. I mean, and we looked at what it means, what SRM means for different SDGs. So this was, for example, life underwater. I asked them to make a futures triangle out of it. So they made some beautiful things that this is what they want, what they do not want, that's their own way. Plus, I also asked them to come up with some stories about the future. So this was Chacha Bashir, who was out fishing, and all of a sudden it becomes dark because the sun is blocked. So yeah, he's like stranded, and it's so a picture story which they came up with. What would life be in such a scenario? And then, we talked about the futures wheel. So this is their way of presenting the futures wheel. All right, Ji? So and another SDG and some story as well, which they will be presenting right now. So yeah, so without ado, what I would love to do is that I would like to invite those children who are here, and perhaps they could tell us about the work which they've been doing. So first of all, I would like to bring in Amal Hashir. She's a student from Unity International. Amal, would you like to turn on your mic and tell us about yourself and the work which you do?
Hello everyone. My name is Amal Hashir, and I am a student from Unity International School. And for the past 2 years, we have been working with Sir Umar on futures thinking. For the first year, we looked at the basics of futures thinking and used different tools like the futures triangle and the futures wheel. And for this year, we have been exploring the effects of solar radiation management on different SDGs that we chose.
Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you, Amal, for that introduction. Okay, I think next it's Amarta who wants to say something. Amarta, would you like to add something on this? Yeah. Amarta, all right. Go ahead, ma'am. Over to you.
This is Amarta, a seventh grader from Unity International School. So, in the past few sessions with Sir Umar, we have been looking at the future and, to be more specific, climate change. Today, I'll be presenting a futures wheel on what could possibly happen if we block the sun rays in the future. So, the first thing that could happen is that there would be weak plant growth, which would cause less food production, and there would be an increase in the food prices. Then there would be less solar energy, which would cause more fossil fuel usage, and there would be more air pollution. The temperature would drop, which would cause in more heating being needed, and that would result in more fuel usage. Yes, that's the future wheel right there. And there would also be less rainfall, causing more droughts, and there would be less water supply. And we would also face an economic loss, and there would be a job loss in the solar field, and there would be higher energy prices. That's it. Thank you. So that's what we have tried to look at, some possible things that could happen in the future if the sun was blocked.
My apologies. I was unmuted. Thank you very much, Amarta. That was so nice of you. Thank you for sharing your insights. So yeah, thinking about the future, guys. Okay, next in, I think we have Miss Umehani. Umehani, are you there, beta? Are you there?
Yes,
And
sir, I'm here.
all right, ma'am, over up to you. What are you going to share with us today? Okay, there we go.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Umehani, and I'm also a seventh grader from Unity International School. This year, we worked on different things and activities, including creating scenario story about the future. In this activity, we had to imagine a world with which from which the sun's rays have been blocked. So I chose an air particle and his heart-wrenching story known as Winkle. So basically, Winkle is an air particle. When the sun was blocked, fuels were being burned. Then Winkle couldn't breathe because the air was toxic. But Winkle was also happy because now no one was inhaling him. Winkle decides to attack the barrier, which was blocking the sun's rays, with his fellow air particles. The sun rays with the fellow air particles. Together, they created a strong wave of wind and attacked the barrier. It flew all the way in the space, and now now the sun rays weren't being blocked. So Winkle and his fellow air particles lived happily afterwards. Jazakallah. That's it for this.
So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing. That's a story about, what might happen, possible futures, what might happen. Okay, it's your future. Beta, anybody else who still wants to present? I'm sorry. Is there anybody else who wants to present?
Yes. I wanted to share a story.
Thank you,
Assalamu
Hanya.
alaikum. My name is Hanya Zuberi, and my SDG was SDG number 13, climate action. So I wrote a short story about a tree. Since trees are a very essential part of maintaining our climate and keeping us alive. The story itself is basically about a tree named Thomas and how he discovers that the humans have blocked out the sun's rays, which ends up killing all of the trees and all of the plants. Now, since there's no trees to help reduce the levels of carbon in the atmosphere, um, all of the living organisms, all of the animals, all of the humans, they all end up dying. So yeah. Thank you.
Umar.
Thank you very much for that scenario, ma'am. Really appreciate it. I hope everybody loved it. Over to you, folks. Any comments, questions to these brilliant, futurists of tomorrow? Over to you, folks.
I'm amazed by them.
Yeah. I like to say that I think like what you're doing is really great, and like the last two stories, they're amazing because like storytelling is honestly the best way we can like convey a message. Like it's the most fun and like the best way I've seen since now. So keep up the good
Okay.
work.
Thank you, ma'am. Somebody else would like to say something, or any questions or comments to these, budding futurists of tomorrow? Now's a good time. Yeah.
I have a question for the students. Maybe Umar, you pick them or whoever wants to open the mic, but they share their projects. I would like for them to share their reflections or learnings doing the project or after.
Okay, girls. So anybody of you want to say what your reflections on, the learning? What did you learn during these 3 years, or let's say this year? What did you learn? What is something for you? So anybody would like to say something? Over to you, ladies.
I'd like to share my reflection. So basically, what I learned in these past 2 years was that when we're thinking of taking an action, like for example, blocking the sun or spraying something into the atmosphere, we really have to look at all the factors because one thing causes another thing, and there's a whole chain reaction. So we have to be really thoughtful about what action we're taking.
Thank you, ma'am. That is beautiful. Beautiful. So beautiful. Great. Anybody else wants to, reflect? Beta, it's up to you. It's Beta Amal or anybody else would like to reflect. I mean, it's up to you. Okay.
A really good example of systems thinking here, Umar.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Great. Okay. Okay. Uh, all right. Now, because, we're a group and, we're all here. So I have a very simple question. For all of us, and maybe some food for thought for all of us. So, and I'll put it this way. Hang on a second. Let me put it over here. Let me type it here, and that's okay. The simplest question. Let me put it here, and hang on a second. Let me just okay. Let me share this now. So if you could just hang on, let me share this. Could you just for a moment let me share lower this? Yeah. Okay. There we go. It's a very simple question actually. You heard all of this. You heard about geoengineering, and Hassaan gave a very good overview about what it is. So if I ask you this question, SRM is dash dash dash, what would be your reply? What's the first reflection that comes to your mind? What do you think it is? Could you just put it in the chat box? SRM is, over to you folks. So let's see what's coming in the chat. Let's wait a minute for SRM is. So for example, for me, the thing is, okay. So the thing is, a complex topic, very simple to do, but complicated to live with. For me, the thing is, it's not a solution. Anybody else? Let's have one or two, and then let's move on. Okay, okay. So just think about it. What comes to your mind when you think about it? Actually, how much time do we have, ma'am? Hang on a second. We have, oh no, it's just 6 minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah,
we need
just have 6 more minutes. Yeah, so I don't think we could. Otherwise, it's a way to cool the earth by reflecting sunlight. Oh, say great. It's Iman says it's very dangerous. Yep. So yeah, these are the sort of feedback which we want because right now it is in a stage where people are thinking about it. Do we really want it to come? Do we really want to come to that? I don't know. But as futurists, we need to think about it. Thank you very much, everybody. I've really enjoyed your energy. I hope this was a session which was thought-provoking. I thought it was a session which was learning for you, and for me, it was a pleasure always working with kids and seeing some old friends. Iman, over to you. So, and I would love some reflections or things from the comments from the audience. Yeah.
Yes, Emaan, Emaan, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. All right, so I think this session was really great. Like we've learned about some really complex topics like SRM. It's something I don't think many people have talked about before. And all in all, I think this was a really insightful discussion, and I hope we keep this conversation going. So if anyone from the audience would like to share their thoughts or some reflections, just feel free. You can just raise your hand and
Man, we don't have the time because it's only 5 minutes and we need to close. So I will say that if it's a sentence, go for it.
yeah, so just like one sentence, like a reflection. Maybe you can type in the chat, maybe you can like raise your hand and you can go ahead.
Okay. And one more reflection, by the way, this whole session. So I've worked with these kids for the past 4 weeks. So all these things which they shared, and the other things, I'll be compiling them, inshallah, and I will be writing that as a blog. And hopefully, with the Hassan's organization, we'll be putting up as a blog, and we can share with everybody. So all of you who are interested, just keep a lookout for me on LinkedIn, and I will be sharing it on different social media as well. And thank you, everybody, for your kind time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Please don't go yet, Emaan, if you want to
Yeah.
the session. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. We also have like a reflection in the chat by Hashir Zaberi. Everything we do has consequences for ourselves and for others, and we need to make the right choices. That's a really great reflection. In fact, I also want to talk about it. Like we've already seen stuff like this from the past that we need to think about the future generations and we need to take a message from I work with the indigenous communities mostly. They always think about the next 7 generations to come. And that's what we really need to do after all. And we need to think about not only the next generation, but also the next 7 generations. So, yeah, I think that concludes our session. Thank you to every one of our speakers. Thank you, Mr. Omar, and thank you for all of the audience for being here, for your participation, and I hope to see you guys soon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Just
Ma'am.
some final things as we wrap this up. So
Omar, 1 second. Just it's important if you want the certificate of participation, please fill out the form that is in the chat.
That's what I wanted to. Yeah, that's what I want to say about the chat. That there is the certificate of participation plus. Okay, so thing is that. Second, hang on a second. Okay, as we wrap up this inspiring session, thank you all for being part of World Future Day Young Voices 2025. Your perspectives and participation have made this conversation truly meaningful. The journey, however, doesn't end here. New facilitators and fresh conversations begin at the top of each hour. You're welcome to stay and continue exploring future possibilities with us. So right on this link, there'll be others who will be, giving some great insights. Please do join them. And plus, there are these announcements. So, two announcements. First, that Teach the Future is offering the first FutureWise Intro to Futures Literacy Fundamentals online course. Oh, we have the Summer Institute for ages 12 to 17, another course coming this fall for those 18 and older. So, in the link over here, which Lourdes has shared, there the pre-registration can be done, which is now open. And folks, it's very, very important that we hear about your experience, to share your feedback. And, so you can do all of that by, they're filling